What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Get in the Garage. I am your host, Mike, with...
I'm Luke.
Luke, once again. Welcome. Today we are going to cover...
The Ramones.
The Ramones.
R.A.M.O.N.E.S.
So, we thought that Ramones would be an interesting topic to cover because Luke and I were talking before we started the podcast, and I guess my angle at this band / topic is one that's like, I feel like the Ramones, like, this is the way I'll say it. Like, pretty much everyone who's listening, do you remember that like 1 week where all you listened to was that one Sublime album? Do you know?
That was a whole summer for me, Michael.
Yeah,
so I don't know what you're talking about. Me and my friend Jim, that whole summer, we listened to Sublime in that garage.
I don't practice.
Listen, I very much watched my friend smoke weed that whole summer and did not partake at all.
Yeah. But you know what I mean to say, right, is that one tends to listen to bands during like the formative years of their lives. And I think that you can create sort of an emotional attachment to those bands. And for me, the Ramones was not one of those bands.
Mike was a little metalhead over here.
I was like into the metal stuff. Ranging from, say, I don't know, like Killswitch Engage all the way to like Cannibal Corpse, and like, I loved all the super heavy stuff. I think I've said it before on the podcast, but the punk is the closest to punk that I ever genuinely got. This is not counting Green Day.
Oh, is Green Day a punk band? That's a whole nother question. Whole other topic for another day, everyone.
But yeah, the closest to punk I got was, okay, maybe the Ramones in the way that my hearing punk, right? But like actively listening to anything that was remotely punk was either the early Metallica, like by that I mean the first album.
Yep.
And maybe like Motorhead.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Have you ever heard the Motorhead tribute to the Ramones?
No.
What? They wrote a song called R.A.M.O.N.E.S. And the Ramones ended up covering it themselves, but Lemmy wrote a song for them about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joey and Lemmy were really good friends.
Yeah, I was going to say, so just in preparing for the podcast, I obviously you watch a couple interviews and stuff like that just to kind of get the juices flowing. You throw on the albums, you're kind of like, you're like, okay, Ramones, let's do it. But yeah, that was something that I hadn't known, was that him and Lemmy were so close. Like, and you see interviews with them like being interviewed together, and you can see they
really genuinely liked each other.
Yeah, they were like good buddies, And
I feel like we're going to talk to this a little bit like later, but it's that outcast, pardon like for a better term, it's that loser spirit,
like that fringe kind of.
I think definitely like Joey was, the whole band was really outcasts. When you say like outcasts, these are people like society didn't want or didn't deem
right.
That it's those people that society outcasts. They don't have any need for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like Lemmy was one of those people, and I feel like Joey was one of those people, and I feel like those kind of people they find each other. And I feel like that's a lot of like how punk started in New York around that scene at the time.
Yeah.
Is all those people finding each other and becoming valid because of it, and
Yeah, and
But to bring it back to like discovering.
Yeah.
My first like ever thinking about like knowing the Ramones are a thing is my sister had a dress that she had bought, and it was a prints of their faces. And I remember not knowing it was even a band.
Yep.
I assumed it was, because that was like what my sister was into. But by the way, my sister is
my wife.
Yeah, so it was pointed out to me that I do not say that on the podcast and talk as if me and Mike are not brother-in-law, but we are.
Yeah, we're family.
So that being said, anyway, my sister had that dress and had their faces on it, and she wore it on her birthday one day, and it happened that she had asked for a Ramones CD, and when she unwrapped it, somebody like an adult that like I like respected was like, "Oh, you like the Ramones?" And my sister Jade was like, "Yeah, I do." And I, for some reason, it was just like it like clicked with me, and I still remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first time I heard it, because I wasn't allowed to touch like Jade CDs, so like tough if you're gonna hear it. But we were in the car, and I don't remember what we were doing. We were in the car, we were in the truck, and we were going past Bacchus Hospital, and Jade popped it in the CD player like a couple days after her birthday. You know, it was like, and I was like, oh, this is that CD. And as soon as it started playing, it like, you know, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like confused, really. I was like, what is this? It was exciting. It was loud. It was fast. It didn't make. I'd never heard anything really like that. Mm-hmm. And the more she would play it, the more it spoke to me. But I don't know if I could like articulate that then. Mm-hmm. You know, because like I really related hard to these lyrics that people think are like jokes, but that's like the whole thing. There's like a sophisticated beauty to how simple it is, and they can speak, like, to me at least, the Ramones speak on so many levels of like my personality and my like that kind of, because I mean I consider myself a little outcasty.
Yeah,
I definitely do. And the Ramones were like, they just spoke to me on that level because that's what they were singing, but they were singing about themselves, you know. So like, now that we kind of covered that, we can kind of talk about where the Ramones start. So the Ramones start New York City.
Queens, baby.
Yeah. Forest Hills, Queens.
Yeah. 1974.
Yeah, around there. They start rumbling in that era. They all kind of knew each other, mostly because they were the only people that they knew that had listened to the Stooges. Like, that was what I've heard, like, them explain. They were like, we all listened to the Stooges and the New York Dolls. And nobody liked the Stooges and nobody liked the New York Dolls. So if you did outcasty, you would kind of meet together and be like, well, these are my people, I guess.
Yeah.
And through that, they all kind of started hanging out. But if we're talking about the Ramones, they are vastly different personalities. So
oh yeah, man.
Let's give you members right here. So we have Joey Ramone. Joey Ramone was incredibly tall, skinny.
Yeah.
Had long black hair.
He had like the original emo haircut before it was an emo haircut. Yeah. He had like the hair that kind of went over one of his eyes, you know?
I love like the throwback, or not even a throwback, but just like the I guess it was kind of throwback to the John Lennon sunglasses he's always wearing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that kind of thing he's trying to put off. But Joey's incredibly shy. He is obsessive compulsive. Mm-hmm. Like, Joey has a lot of problems, man.
Yeah.
Life's hard. Life's hard. You know, life's really hard. And that's kind of like where he's coming from. And then you have his opposite, which would be Johnny Ramone. Johnny Ramone grew up a complete, like, throwing bricks through windows kind of kid. Anything bad he could do, he said he did it just to do it. He was horrible, you know, got sent to military camp, you know, all this stuff. And it, like, really, you know, it wasn't, he was just he was going down that bad path. So he was like, anything bad from morning till night, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And then one day it just hit him. They didn't want to live like that. And he decided to kind of go straight. And then he lived his life very regimented and like militaristic for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Very like by the book kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he's a conservative, which is rare for punk rock.
Yeah, when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's
where Joey,
interesting dynamic.
Yeah, where Joey is the bleeding heart liberal.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so then that brings us to Dee Dee Ramone. Dee Dee Ramone, I think, is the real heart of the Ramones. He's absolutely like the songwriter. He's the one that would write. I mean, if you're gonna like, I'll talk to like how maybe like some of these songs don't sound like they're emotionally heavy, but they definitely are. Mm-hmm. And Dee Dee was bringing that to the table. And Dee Dee, what would make him kind of an outcast in the circle, or you know, like that in life, really, was he was like an addict to everything.
Yeah.
And he lived his life that way, kind of like a perpetual little kid kind of thing. Had problems with drugs, alcohol. That kind of thing.
Yeah, vices.
Yeah, and then you have Tommy, who is the drummer. Now, when the Ramones are first coming together, Tommy's the glue, because he's the only one that's got his shit together.
Yeah.
It was described in the End of the Century documentary. Like Dee Dee's talking, and I don't think it like comes off to a lot of people what he's trying to say, but what he's saying is, I was jealous of him because he could make a sandwich. Now, what that means, like what he's saying is like Dee Dee was so. They were all kind of so like couldn't figure out how to live life, like how to buy bread, how to like buy groceries, how to clean your house. They were just dysfunctional people.
They didn't know their zip code,
right?
You know?
Yes, and like Tommy had it together enough to be able to have like his place and have like food, and he was kind of the one holding the glue down.
Yeah.
And he really brought these people together. He was saying, "You guys should start a band. You should start a band. You should start a band." And Johnny was like, "You're an idiot. I'll never be in a band with any of these people. You're an idiot."
Yeah.
And the strange thing is, like Johnny liked the New York Dolls and all that stuff too, and which is strange.
Yeah.
It's so strange, but I think Johnny is like he comes off as strange, but you got to respect it because he has a very open mind as much as his mind is closed. If that can make kind of sense.
I can hear that though.
All right, so these group of people come together, and they form a band because Tommy's like, you got to form a band. Now, all that stuff going on at CBGB's that's happening, and I don't think it's really. I don't think the Ramones were hanging out as much before they were in a band. I feel like the only reason they end up in CBGB's is that they're in a band. Otherwise, they would be going seeing bands maybe, but I feel like that's their main because they don't sound like. Now we're talking CBGB's bands like the
Talking Heads.
Yeah, so you got
right.
You got Talking Heads. You have Blondie. I'm pretty sure like Johnny Thunders and is kind of quaking at this point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other bands in that area in that time. But what makes the Ramones different is they don't sound like Television and they don't sound like Blondie. They don't sound like those bands. The Ramones were a throwback to rock and roll because they hated what was happening.
Yeah, I think that's what I fell in love with the Ramones because I listened to the Ramones and I thought, okay, it's a punk band. And then you were like, oh, the Ramones, man, they're like my favorite rock and roll band. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they're a rock and roll band. And you listen to it, and you're like, oh, yeah, duh. Like, this is just really, really fuzzy, fast rock and roll. It's basically like, I saw, I saw this video. This guy was talking about the Ramones, and he referred to them as like the Beach Boys on bath salts.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
and that's the whole thing is the Ramones. You might think anti rock and roll, right? But you couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is that the Ramones loved rock and roll, but they loved it in its purest, stripped down form.
Right.
They wanted to give it to you instantly. It's that immediacy. I want it now. I want it now. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
And what they really did too was like when they did this is like I find that this concept is like high concept. They in the middle of this you have like Yes and all these like dinosaur bands, the Who. I mean, I'm a big Who guy, but like by this time, like come on guys, like it was wrapping up. Yeah, you know,
and there was a need for something fresh.
Yeah, and this is so fresh because it's immediate. You could have it now.
Yeah.
And the thing was that when you bought the Ramones' first record, was that 1976, I believe? Yeah. You bought the Ramones' first record in 1976. You brought this home and you instantly could think, I can do this. And that's what the message I got too was, because like everybody's like, oh, it's simple, it's 3 chords, you know, you like that's like what you kind of hear. But then you're like, yeah, but people like it, and I could do it. Yeah. So that's the other thing that that the Ramones gave. But so they're hanging out at CBGB's, and I don't think they really fit in that scene other than that they're different, and all those other bands were different than other bands, I guess, going on at the time. But, oh yeah, you might hear some dog footprints, everyone. Footprints?
Paw prints?
No. I don't know. Anyway.
Paw steps.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that. So, well, they're playing CBGB's. What really happens, everybody, is a Rolling Stone article comes out, and it does really well for them. So people, because they're different, kind of like the Andy Warhol-y people hanging around at CBGB's start to notice the band and build a following around that kind of Andy Warhol-y, people that were hanging out, artists, everybody that was, into that kind of scene. And the Ramones really shined in the Rolling Stone article, and that's where it set off, because Rolling Stone went down to CBGB's, saw that there was a scene happening of original music happening in New York. These guys weren't cover bands, that was very different. Even like, let's talk about that. You're playing in a bar, you are a cover band playing in a bar. These people were playing in bars and playing original music. That really had not been done in America like that. If you were a bar, cover music, and it still happens today.
Yeah.
If you go out and try to play original music in a bar, and that's why CBGB's was great for these people, because it let them play the music that they wanted to play, and it made an art scene form. Listen up, people. You want your art scenes to form? Let people play music. If you guys want a DJ, get a DJ. I don't get these. I mean, whatever, guys. Sometimes I like to hear covers, but original music. Let's bring it back.
Here though, for real. Come on.
The Ramones really shined in that Rolling Stone article. So I don't know who wrote that article, but they kind of spotted them, and they were like, the Ramones. So also around this time, Linda Stein, who is the wife of Seymour Stein, who owns Sire Records, she's kind of hanging around that scene too. And so is Danny Fields. And I believe one of them told the other one. And I think Linda told Danny Fields.
Yeah.
You got to come see this band. What do you think? This is your kind of band. Now, we talked about Danny Fields last week episode a little bit. Danny Fields was at first the I think he was like art management at Elektra Records, kind of worked with the Doors, signed the Stooges, signed the MC5, and then he ended up in New York City to see the Ramones. When he saw this band, what I kind of laid out for you guys before, he saw that vision of them. He was like, this is pure rock and roll. I love it. I wanna help this band as much as I can. He said, so he went to the Ramones and said, can I manage you guys? And the Ramones said, buy us a drum kit. And he went, all right. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Now, Linda Stein said to her husband, hey, you got to sign this band. They're the band. And they did. So that's how the Ramones got in a record deal. They make their first album, 1976, like he was saying earlier. They're floating around 74. I think I've heard 74 demos before.
Yeah.
I believe you can look them up on YouTube. I used to have them on my iPod back in the day, everybody.
Yeah.
But, I haven't dug those out in a while. So 74, they're definitely a band, the Rumbling, playing CBGBs, 76 comes out, the album comes out, right? This album comes out, but who bought it? Because the Ramones didn't go on a tour. But no, for real though, they did
I looked.
They did like a mini tour in '76, I believe. They went over to L.A. I know their first show out in New York was Toad's Place, opening up for the Edgar Winter Group.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they got bottles thrown at them. So I think that was like their first out in New York show. I think that might have been 75, 76. They definitely go. Yeah, this album is, I have in front of me actually, live August 12th, 76, and this would have been the tour for that first album. And I don't believe they played like a ton of dates, but what they did do was they went over to Europe.
Yes, and this was something that I wanted to talk to you about, right?
Yeah.
Having the knowledge of the Ramones that you have, right? Would you say that to a certain extent that the Ramones kind of got the shit end of the deal when you looked at the time or shortly thereafter? When you look back at the creation of punk,
yeah, like every Ramones song should have been a #1 hit. Like,
right, but would you say that the Ramones started something that maybe the Brits, like the Sex Pistols, and
they stole it,
and the Clash,
of course
kind of
they did.
stole it, and then
absolutely,
because I saw an interview with Robert Plant,
yeah,
and he's and in his mind,
yeah,
it was kind of shocking because in his mind he's like first. Well, and he thought that Nirvana was like the origin story of punk music in the United States.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which to me, I was like, wait, Robert Plant? That's what Robert Plant thought? I mean, I'm assuming thought because of somebody.
if we're talking this talk, it's America all day long. And I'll give you the first reason.
Yeah.
Iggy and the Stooges.
Yeah.
You don't get more punk than that. That was punk in '69.
Right. And they would play. I mean, okay, they had slow songs, but they had upbeat songs and stuff too that you could say.
I mean, by the time you get to Raw Power, and I think that's 1973. Raw Power is, does the song Raw Power?
Yeah.
That's the whole song.
Yeah.
It doesn't switch up. That's punk. That's so punk.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
that's
where
what
the
I'm saying,
Ramones
where-
are coming from.
right, where
they
the
just made it. What made punk a style of music is speed. I feel like that's where it's, you know what I'm saying. It's speed. That's where like it's punky because it's fast.
speed, and speed also falls into that, but it's just it's the way that it's delivered to you, because it is kind of like you listen to the first Ramones album and you're just like, oh yeah, I hear Little Richard.
Yeah.
I hear, you know what I mean? I hear Jerry Lee Lewis. I hear
You know what
Elvis.
I love? You know what I love about that first record too, man, is was I Want to Be Your Boyfriend.
Yeah.
Hey little girl. It's like a beat. They're trying to be like the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And they're being really sincere about it.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying though. It's so good, and it's just like, again, and I love the Beach Boys. But for me, who loves a distorted guitar, it's just like, oh, this is like the melding of these two perfect worlds, where it's just like it's Chuck Berry meets.
Yeah, I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. It's like Beatlesy too.
Yeah.
Hey little girl. It's just like.
Yeah, and I would say that is a fair kind of comparison to be drawn between them and the Beatles. I don't know. I don't know if that's too bold to say, because the Beatles are the Beatles.
Let's talk to, and I don't want to be this guy, but if we're talking like intellectually wise, like, I mean, I guess I just don't relate to the UK as much, and definitely the Sex Pistols I don't relate to as much.
Yeah, I'm not.
But it's mostly because it's more. I feel like they were more driving like they're like. I just feel like it's not as sincere.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Or like they could care less about it. Like
Yeah.
that kind of punk attitude. Like, I could care less if I even do good.
Yeah.
And the Ramones wanted to be a good band.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why I look at them and I can't relate as much, maybe, because I'm like, you guys kind of seem like you always don't want to be here. And when you seem like you always don't want to be here, I think you kind of you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So, and you know what I mean?
And it seemed like they were trying to be shocking in terms of the lifestyle and like the.
Yeah, but Alice Cooper was shocking in such a better way.
Yeah,
so much high class.
But what I mean is that, like, you hear there's like these scandalous sort of things that they would do that kind of seem like for the press, and kind of like, this Johnny Rotten, whatever, like this gross thing would happen, and they're like, yeah, that's right,
almost
and you're just like,
almost like how Jim Morrison might have outshined the Doors in his era as like a teen star doing outlandish things, getting drunk on stage, and whipping out his Lizard King,
yeah, and insulting the crowd, and like, calling them a bunch of slaves and idiots and all this, So it's like, but that's what I mean, though. It's like,
so like that.
The artistic mind. It's a tough one to analyze.
It's a tough one to analyze. But if we're talking about like the Ramones, okay, so like we just talked about "I Want to Be Your Boyfriend," right, on the first record. So like I kind of want to like dive into the first record a lot, because everywhere the Ramones did go, or whoever did buy this record, they did start a band. Like everybody, there's so many stories. The Dead Kennedys, Black Flag, Bad Brains is named. That's a Ramones song.
Yeah.
It's just like the DC scene. Every scene that popped up, they saw what they were doing, and they were like, I want to do that too, and I can. So if we're talking like songs, though, you have some like high class stuff on here. Blitzkrieg Bop.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of reference to like Germany and to like Cold War era stuff. Blitzkrieg Bop is Blitzkrieg, the World War II Blitzkriegs on Britain back in the day, the bombing. It's like kind of has all the shoot him in the back, like but it's got also like another meaning, like relating to like more of like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
more of like just like having fun and goofy. And even just like, okay, Beat on the Brat. That's like an aspect of their life. Like, somebody was snitching, you gotta beat that dude up. Like that, they lived it. It was a hard. New York was a hard. You know what I'm saying? A hard place, and these people were hardened people.
Yeah.
So like, but then you have Beat on the Brat, but you also have I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's so sweet, and that's where you get the yin and the yang. So you also realize that these are sensitive people. These are artists, and maybe like Beat on the Brat is just more of a statement of where they were and how they had to live and where they lived.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like, I Want to Be Your Boyfriend is more of like the innocent longing for innocence kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sniffing Glue, like, I want to talk about a little bit like I don't want to go down to the basement, like because that one to me on the surface, and that's one of the first songs the Ramones wrote, and I believe it's more of a Dee Dee song. That one to me is like, it's like, hey daddy-o, I don't want to go down to the basement, there's something down there, you know, I don't want to go. So that is like a little kid fear, right?
Yeah.
But like, how many of us are still afraid of the dark? Like, really, think about it. Like, you're in the middle of the woods, it's dark, you're afraid, you're gonna be afraid.
Oh yeah. That's an ancient, I think.
Yeah, and like even to write
human feeling, you know,
even to write a song about such an innocent childhood fear is just so out of the ordinary for most of our egotistical lives. Like we're not really like thinking about it that way.
It's a very vulnerable song.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's saying, "I'm afraid."
It's like a cry for help.
But he's saying like,
you know,
like, "Hey, I'm afraid of the dark too. Are you afraid of the dark?"
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like a sensitive thing to say to somebody, you know, and like that's the level of kind of where it's coming from. But also, it's like, hey, daddy-o, I don't want to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it can be presented to, and that's what punk is. It's making kind of everything that's bad or vulnerable or hard to look at pretty. And okay, so other songs in here. Today You Love Tomorrow the World is probably the last one I really want to talk about. Oh, maybe 53rd and 3rd too. 53rd and 3rd is so good. It's about turning tricks. If you don't know what turning tricks is, look it up. So it's about turning tricks on the corner in New York City. And Dee Dee R.A.M.O.N.E is turning a trick and he kills somebody in the story of the song. But that was their life. 53rd and 3rd was a real place where people hung out and did that thing.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm talking about. Like, this is like at some point they're sensitive, but they're also relating the toughness of their times, and that's where like the yin yang. It's so can be so profound.
Isn't that though kind of like isn't that always the best music?
Yeah,
you
that has both edges.
Yeah, and that finds
it laughs at itself too. I think.
Yeah,
a lot, which is also like the nice part about it.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's
almost like how the Who would like laugh at themselves. It was like always kind of back in like the beginning. It was kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
like Boris the Spider.
Yeah,
you know, it was like it was that kind of like thing to rock and roll.
I also find it very, in a way, kind of relatable to kind of like earlier hip hop and stuff, and even like 90s hip hop. Because I mean, if you listen to those lyrics, they're talking. That's what they're talking about.
What was brewing in New York City at the same time? Like these people knew, like that's they. You know what I mean? Even though it wasn't the same scene, like it was a little bit like the Clash, highly influenced by the New York scene and what was going on there. And they put out some of like the funkiest, almost rap songs, and they actually they were rapping, like they were throwing down verses over repetitive beat. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, interesting to just draw that comparison too, because that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, when you hear lyrics that are talking about,
I think
that kind of stuff, you know, it's
the highest class song on here that we come up as the lowest class is the Today You Love Tomorrow the World. I'm a Nazi, baby. I'm a Nazi. Yes, I am. I'm a Nazi Shotzi, and I fight for the fatherland. Like, okay, so
heavy stuff there.
It's heavy stuff. But it's about little German boy being pushed around, today your love, tomorrow the world. It's about a little kid trying to get love in Germany. This is how I always kind of interpreted it.
Saw it.
I don't know if this is like right or not. I actually never really kind of looked up like what the meaning of it was, but I always interpreted that, little German boy being pushed around today your love, tomorrow the world, is that if you don't get love, nobody loves you. Maybe one day that person's going to be a bad person. That's always how because he's like, I'm a Nazi, and that's how I always interpreted that song. And I feel like a lot of people listen to it, and when he says I'm a Nazi, they cut it off, man.
Yeah,
they're
but he
like,
doesn't. They're
like, this must be like an anti-Nazi song, and I feel like it is. Obviously, the Ramones aren't Nazis,
Yeah, but it's a very human song in that way, though. Too. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, again, in the same way that it's like, I don't want to go into the basement. Here's the perspective of, like you said, maybe like a young German boy talking to his father and being like,
but it's such like I
don't want to be that.
But these people, like, what I mean? Like, some people got it, but most people weren't getting it at that level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I don't even know if I got, the only reason I feel like they connected with me is because I related to it, but I can't even tell you that I articulated it then. Like it this is these things that hit me later when I'm listening and I'm like, oh, like I guess that's probably why I did, kind of thing. So that's really the first album. Like I've just talked about that forever, but it's such an important record to have and talk about and listen to and think about. I mean, I think about it on high art level, like. You know what I mean? Like, this is where I'm coming from, everybody. I'm looking at Van Gogh, and I'm like, that's high-class art. And I'm looking at the R.A.M.O.N.E.S record, and I listen to it, and I'm like, this is high-class art. It's the same level for me. Also, if you like the first album, this was a Record Store Day release, live at the Roxy, August 12th, 1976. I also believe that this might have been expanded on the second album CD, or I know there's like a live on the CD version of it.
Okay.
But this is like a compilation that came out on Record Store Day, live at the Roxy, August 12th, 76. I believe this is their first trip over to the West Coast of the United States, and you get a really good blend of like raw early Ramones, really sounding rough and good, and they play some early tunes that you really don't get to hear live later. Like maybe like I Remember You, Beat on the Brat, it's Loudmouth, stuff like that. So anyway, it's a great record. Second record for me, Leave Home.
Leave Home.
I like this record, but I'm not this is actually some of the Ramones records, a couple of them. I'm not a giant fan of the production on them. It's just the time, I talk about this all the time. But this one, I'm not crazy about the production on, but I love almost every song on this record.
Yeah, I was going to say that was, Leave Home was, I think, at some point I borrowed your CD of that.
Oh, and
I actually remember, I don't know, this is a long time ago, but I remember I was bringing, it was a very nice day, and I was bringing my car to go to the car wash. And I was very excited about washing my car that day, and not that that's necessarily relevant, but like on my way there and during the car wash, I just listened to this album, and it was just like, it was an album that when I listened to it, I needed it because I was in a place where I felt kind of musically stale.
Yeah,
in terms of like,
that.
It's like when you go on Netflix, right? And you're just like trying to watch, trying to find something to watch.
Everything looks like trash. Everything sounds like trash.
Yeah. And for the music that I was listening to at the time, it's just like I felt that way. I wasn't really listening to a lot of music. I was just listening to like NPR and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I was like, screw it, let me throw this on. And man, it's a banger. I feel you on the production, but
Yeah,
and production
it's actually better than the first album. I'm just that guy that's just like, don't produce it.
Yeah.
So my opinion's kind of garbage a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing is, especially with them, it's like
don't produce it, right?
Yeah,
like, duh.
Right.
I mean, me and Johnny Ramone are on the same page because that's his. He's just like every time he's just like in his book, which you should read. It's called Commando. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, he wrote like lists his whole life, so he'll be like, my top favorite bands, my top favorite music, like movies, like it's a really great book. But he also talks about every album, and he's just like, yeah, once again, the producer was just like, you should do this, and I was like, you're an idiot, and then it's like that kind of vibe. So song on here that I really really like, that I like again I can relate to, man. Okay, so this is like their calling card to me is Pinhead. The lyrics, Gabba Gabba, we accept you, one of us.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so this comes from a movie. Then I believe at the 1932, I believe is the year. The movie is called Freaks. Now, Freaks was a movie that came out in 1932, and it had sideshow performers in it. Now, what they used to call, I believe the disorder is called microcephaly. And it's like a it gives you to be kind of, the song is called Pinhead. So this is what it's about. It gives you a pinhead. And so there were people like this in the movie. They were like conjoined twins, and it was called Freaks. And it really freaked people out when they saw it, and they were like really like shocked by it. And it was kind of like a horror movie for the time. But a kind of cool thing about the movie is that these people did get to act in movies, and that they were, they got to represent themselves on some level, I guess. And I guess that's why it kind of lives on, because it's kind of like a moment of glory where they did get to be human and get to be shown and seen, and people would, maybe not accept them at the time, but like we watch that now, and I think it, not proud that maybe they were displayed that way, but they got to kind of maybe have a moment in the sun for a minute. I don't know if that's right, but that's what I think they were taking away from it, because that line, that movie is uttered, we accept you, one of us.
Yeah.
And the Ramones were saying, hey, if you're an outcast, if you're a freak, if someone's called you a loser, we accept you. You're one of us. Like,
right. Yeah.
Come on in. We're all different. We don't get along. We don't even like each other.
Yeah,
but we're brothers.
for real, though.
We're brothers. They're all
Yeah.
Ramones. That's when I listen to it, I feel like that. I feel like I could be, because like their family's dysfunctional, my family's dysfunctional, but
Yeah.
they're still the Ramones.
Yeah.
And like that's what that line is like. It's so, when you kind of learn the backstory from it, it's like from this movie of like, it has so much more weight to it. And they were, saying like, okay, and then the lyric, is like DUMB. Everyone's accusing me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anybody's been called dumb a lot in their life, but I've been called dumb a lot in my life. When I was a kid in school, like, I had a lot of like trouble learning. I just had learning disabilities. I don't learn like a lot of other people. A lot of people call me dumb, and I know I'm not dumb. But you know what I mean? DUMB. Everyone's accusing me. Like, when people are calling you dumb and calling you a freak, like, we're gonna be your family. Like, that is such a powerful like statement of inclusion.
Yeah.
That's what resonated with me, and I don't think a lot of people like are picking up on it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're like, oh, we want like fans. I think it's like way deeper than that. If you look at like from that movie Up, I think that's the level that they were kind of coming at. But it's tongue in cheek. But at the same time, I think it's really heartfelt. I think it does have some weight to it.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
And like, I mean, I don't know that everybody can relate to that, but that's where I'm coming from in this world, and that's why the Ramones are speaking to me. And then there's other songs in here, I mean, that I love. You're Gonna Kill That Girl, about Dee Dee, like, killing his girlfriend who was a prostitute and like tried to like kill him. She stabbed him in the butt one time. Oh my gosh. Her name was Connie. She also dated I think it's a drummer for the New York Dolls, and tried to the bass player, and tried to sum his thumb off. Yeah.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah, this lady was crazy. You're Gonna Kill That Girl is about her, and what's that other song? It's Glad to See You Go. Glad to see you go, 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 goodbye. That's about her too. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I'm even like glad to see you go, and in a moment of passion, get the glory, like Charles Manson. Like, come on, it's so good. It's like so like funny, and like they take it as like the guy from the cult leader, like, stance, and it's like I think it's a good commentary. I think it's funny. You know what I mean? Laughing at bad things is funny on some level.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's what, like, I mean, you look at even like current comedians now and stuff. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, they say like the comedians are the new rock stars.
Yeah, like pushing.
But that's what I'm saying. It forces you to kind of look at some ugly stuff, but you can kind of laugh at it. But laugh at it not, and you're making fun of it, but laugh at sort of like the preposterousness, the ridiculous of just
hypocrisies of life, really. You can kind of laugh at it instead of being so hurt by it all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can be therapeutic. You know what I mean? It has a quality of healing when you can kind of laugh at your misfortune,
or even when you can kind of like look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is going to be like a weird example, but the Dead Kennedys album, with like, it has like a child's hand. And I don't know from what country, but it's like a starving child's hand and like a normal, healthy person's hand. It's like shrunken. And I feel like even just seeing like that kind of image, it's so bold and it's shocking. But it might make you care, and then two, it's like seeing it and then knowing, you know what I mean? Almost like you're like, okay, you can kind of like accept it more. I don't know if I'm trying to explain that right. Does that?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Not that you can like laugh at it because it's not funny, but at some level, it's just like
it's almost like if
the funny, horrible part is that like the world has enough money to solve all these problems and we just don't.
Yeah,
that's I think the kind of the statement of it.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's like look at these people. Like, you know, we have McDonald's, you know, burgers, but there are hungry people everywhere. It's like, you know, and that's I think like that's kind of, and that's may not be, I'm sure if a comedian could like maybe take that premise and like put a punchline in there somewhere.
Yeah, warp it into something.
That's what I'm talking about.
But I hear you though. Yeah, I mean that's is like most great music. You know, it presents you the realness of life, but you can kind of accept it more because the medium where it's delivered is an artistic one, and I think that can kind of trigger
maybe honesty has something to do with it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so my favorite Ramones album of all time,
Rocket
to Russia. Studio album.
Yeah,
everyone. My favorite studio album is Rocket to Russia.
Yeah.
Also, like, guys, if you want to look at the back artwork of Rocket to Russia, you have like the pinhead logo that the Ramones would use. This is actually, it's supposed to look like someone from that movie Freaks called Schlitzie. And you should look up Schlitzie. Schlitzie had an interesting life. And our local, actually, NPR station, Colin McEnroe, did a show about Schlitzie. And you should look it up. It's called the Colin McEnroe Show. And that's how I first learned about Schlitzie.
I love Colin.
And then, you know, I ended up relating it to one of my favorite band of all time. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't even know it was like another story that came out. I never knew about Schlitzie, and I just had heard it about him on the radio, and it ended up, you know, one day, and then I ended up, oh, that's that movie Freaks, okay. Oh, that's a quote from that movie. Oh, that's in the Ramones song. And then I flip over, and there's Schlitzie on the back cover riding a rocket to Russia.
Yeah. I spun this one earlier. I have a cool press. I have it's not mine. It's my brother's. It's on. He loaned it out to me, but it's this cool Portuguese pressing.
Oh, I used to have a Portuguese of the second album, but I sold it when I was real broke.
Oh man, the cases, the sleeves for them they're really weird. They're very they're kind of like when you get like a UK pressing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
like a little
thinner.
glossy.
It's a little. This one wasn't glossy, but it was definitely super flimsy. It wasn't like that thick
hard,
sort of
that
cardstock.
hard American cardboard.
No, it was not. It was very much like flimsy. But it's. I mean. Yeah, I do love that record. That's a good one.
I think it plays the best. I mean, Cretin and the production on Rocket to Russia is my favorite Ramones production all time. I love it. I love it. Cretin Hop starts off the album. There's no stopping the Cretins from hopping. Then you get Rockaway Beach. Listen to this awesome poetic lyric. Chewing out a rhythm on my bubble gum. The sun is out, and I want some. It's not hard, not far to reach. We can hitch a ride to Rockaway Beach. Like, chewing out a rhythm on my bubble gum. Like, how... And it's so percussive and like, oh, what a great line.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great line. It's like one of the best lines in rock and roll. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's... that's like that kind of stuff is like what gets me about the Ramones is like they were writing like top-notch rock and roll songs. Like Rockaway Beach, guys, should have been the #1 hit, but as Mike was like talking about before, I mean, I think it should have. At least it should have like charted super high. And this is the reason I don't think it did is because everyone in the UK was spitting on each other, and it's like that's where I don't like that kind of mob mentality-ness was not what the Ramones were about. The Ramones were about making music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and because of the outlandishness of the Sex Pistols, you know, the Ramones suffered greatly because they would not get played on the radio.
Yeah, they just got lumped. It's
they got lumped in. Oh, this is a punk band? Pfft, garbage. What are they, spitting on people? Forget this.
Yeah.
And the Ramones weren't spitting on people. The Ramones were, at some level, trying to be dignified. They were trying to rise themselves out of the oppression and hard life that they had been handed. You know? And they were working really hard. They were now, like, when you get to, like, Rocket to Russia, like, the Ramones really start, like, touring super heavy. And this is, like, the legacy of the Ramones is everywhere they went, like we said before, bands popped up. Canada, England, D.C., California, the Midwest. And the Ramones were paving the first path. Now, the first path was definitely Ramones. Second path of those touring bands in the United States, Black Flag. Laid down the second wave and told everybody they could do it on
Listen to our first episode.
Yeah. Listen to our first episode. We did Black Flag.
This is a great album though, man. Like, and I love how they do Surfin' Bird on this.
Yeah, because they're giving, I think this is the most refined statement of them because they're giving you what they are at the core, which is prime rock and roll, and then they show you with like Surfin' Bird, right? But then they also have Sheena's a punk rocker on there, right?
Yeah, Sheena's a punk rocker.
Right, and then they're giving you like that. But Sheena is a punk rocker is one of the best power pop songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
You know, the kids are all wrapped up and ready to go. You know, it's just like a faster Raspberry song.
It's like you can do the twist to their songs. You know what I'm saying? Like you could. It's just like really fast. You know, like.
And it's so like cool because too it's making fun of punk and being like Sheena's a punk rocker now. It's like almost the same as that country song. You guys are gonna love this relation. Gone country, look at those boots. She's gone country, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that just like another take on Sheena's a punk rocker?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, she put on that outfit. She's ready to go. She's a punk rocker now. Like, you can buy in. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's fun. It's tongue in cheek, and it's also like at some points, like, yeah, you could buy in. You could be a punk rocker, but on another level, it's like, yeah, you can join us. Like anybody, you know?
Yeah.
What are you? You or Sheena? Get over here. You know? That's like. And it's so well written. Like by this point, like that concept that we've been kind of talking about would be really handled heavy on that first record. This concept is brought into such a high class level on Rocket to Russia. And even with the imagery on the front cover, is they realized that the first cover was so striking. I think that they went for the same vibe.
Yeah. Can we just also talk about
the outfits?
Great outfits.
Yeah. Let's take a break. Let's take a break too to talk about who, like, the name, the image, and everything else that goes with that. Now, the Ramones are named after Dee Dee started calling himself Dee Dee Ramone because he had heard that Paul McCartney, when he checked into hotels, would check his name as Paul Ramone. So it's a love for the Beatles kind of thing, and he thought it'd be cool to take on a different name. He's like, I'm not Dee Dee anymore, or I'm not Douglas Coven. I'm Dee Dee Ramone.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
It gives you one, you can be another person, which I think they kind of all liked.
Yeah.
Now, Joey, his name, what is his name? Oh man, Jeffrey Hyman. Johnny is John Cummings, right? And I don't know Tommy's last name. He's like Edelstein or something. It's hard to pronounce. You're gonna look at it and not know how to pronounce it. But yeah, so these people, those are the real names. So Dee Dee started calling himself Dee Dee Ramone, and they were like, oh, we should all be Ramone. We should all do that. That's cool. We should all do that. So they all took on the name Ramones. And when they did this, I feel like that's why they stayed together so long. It made them brothers in a way. And everybody thought they were brothers at first because they all looked striking because they all dressed the same. The outfit of the Ramones is long hair down your shoulders. Jeans with holes in them.
Yep.
Cheap shoes and or like working man's shoes, like a working person's shoes. Like you would have like Keds, Converse, like a basketball shoe, nothing fancy.
Yeah.
It was never like it was never like they weren't wearing leather shoes. Maybe like leather boots, motorcycle boots, but those are people's shoes.
Right.
The Ramones dressed like people.
They wouldn't go up there wearing like Oxfords.
No, they look and of course they had leather jackets.
Yeah.
But it's not because they were bikers. It was because, Elvis wore a leather jacket.
Yeah.
And at first the Beatles wore leather jackets, and it was that vibe. That's where they were coming from.
Yeah.
They were Elvis, leather jacket.
Yeah.
You're gonna
right?
You're gonna go have a rumble behind the drive-in.
Yeah, right.
With your leather jacket.
It's like a greasers thing.
Yeah, but they all, and so, and the t-shirts they would wear, these are like people's t-shirts. These are like New York Yankees. This is like who they were.
Yeah.
They were kind of wearing it on their sleeves. Maybe like a Cream magazine shirt.
Well, I think it shows you too how, like, even though maybe they took some influences from, say, like a T-Rex or New York Dolls and stuff, which was coming kind of out of the glam rock thing.
Yeah.
Although they were influential on them musically, it kind of went to show you
they didn't look like anybody else.
Right.
They looked like aliens.
Yeah, they looked like aliens because they also kind of looked normal. But you know what I mean?
And because they all look the same, and because let's be straight, these guys they're kind of weird looking dudes. They're funky looking dudes.
Yeah.
But because they all look the same too, I think on some level when you saw them, you weren't like they were like a gang, so you couldn't mess with them. They were all the same. Were you gonna make fun of all of them? There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what, and it's just so straight. Like when I see a band, like it's the same thing too. It's like it's the Beatles wearing their jackets. It's
Yeah.
when Brian Epstein put them in jackets. That was it. You know what I mean? And they like knew that. They knew to all dress the same.
Yeah.
They like that's Johnny.
Yeah.
You got to have an outfit. You got to wear the uniform. And like at times in this band, these people were like, I don't want to dress like this anymore.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, you're R.A.M.O.N.E. This is our outfit. This is what we wear. And they wore that till the day they died.
And it's cool. It's kind of like it is in a way kind of a nod to like a band like Kiss.
Yeah.
Right, where it's kind
it
of
is
like
an outfit.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's like your
at
uniform.
Some level,
It's,
at some level, it became some of their personalities. But like Dee Dee didn't want to wear this outfit all the time, and I'm sure some of them wanted to wear gym shorts once in a while.
Yeah, right. Not just like
Yeah,
tight denim ripped up pants.
yeah,
Yeah, but
And-
it is so striking though, and you never forget it. You see a picture of the Ramones, you never forget that image.
It's the concept. Like that's another thing too. Like I'm talking like a lot of modern bands come out, and I look at them and I'm like, who are these? What's the concept? Tell me who you are by not saying anything a little bit. Because like sometimes I want that, and sometimes I want bands to be. And I feel like this is why a lot of bands aren't rock bands aren't succeeding, because they don't act like brothers. They don't act like they're. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that high concept of like, this is it.
If I can give you a good quote from the great Joey Diaz, he's like, if you got like 3 down ass motherfuckers, you could burn a whole fucking town down. But it's true though. It's that mentality. It's the like the 4 of us are gonna conquer the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a beautiful thing.
It definitely is.
So after this album, we
Also,
have
as a child, this gave me something to wear that I could wear. Like I want to talk about that too. Let's talk about that too a little bit. Is that the Ramones were poor. My family didn't have a ton of money, and this was I could wear this, and then I could be somebody.
Yeah,
you feel me?
Yeah.
Because like I mean, this is not my era. Everybody, I grew up way later. I grew up when like everybody knew the Ramones were wonderful.
Yeah.
But still, like, buy their records, everybody, please.
Yeah.
I believe there's only still one gold Ramones album in the United States. Yeah, I think maybe the first album is gone, but yeah, it's like, you know what I mean? Or like, buy the Ramones albums, everybody. Buy them. Listen to them. Anyway, it's like this gave me something to be because this didn't cost money. I could afford Converse. I could definitely afford a pair of jeans with holes in them.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that all my shirts looked like that anyway.
Yeah.
Because these are working class people.
Yeah.
And that was an outfit I could buy. Then I had an identity. I could be somebody.
Right.
And like, not for nothing, everybody, but I still dress like that to this day.
Yeah.
1, because it's convenient, and 2, because that's who I am on some level. I'm a working class person. The Ramones are a working class band.
Yeah.
That's how they dress. That, you know what I mean? And that's what maybe I'm trying to put off to the world a little bit.
And they weren't trying to be something they weren't.
Yeah, and that's why I really like them too.
And that's not a knock on, say, like the David Bowies or the Elton Johns. That's not a knock on that kind of a thing, because that's
no, but like
that's its own thing
like
too.
the working man needs his band too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I that's the other concept I feel like that we really didn't touch on, is that I think really felt was a pride of their work ethic. Because let's talk to the Ramones. I believe 2,228, something like that, shows.
Wow.
That's a lot of shows.
That's a lot of shows.
Yeah, and they stayed together. 1974 to 1996.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it is a long time. So now then, Road to Ruin. Well, actually,
okay.
Does it go with that and then It's Alive?
It's Alive first.
Which, can I just say that It's Alive blew my mind, because I was like,
because this was the first record. I was like, if you're gonna listen to the Ramones and you haven't, this is the one I recommend you listen to first. It's when I say it's their crowning, I mean Rocket to Rush is their crowning achievement of like a studio album, but It's Alive is the it's everything you'd ever want from the Ramones in a double live album.
And this is my only question: how did Tommy Ramone not just collapse of exhaustion? Because that was the first thing that stood out to me with this, where I was like,
is he really playing that fast?
He's playing that fast for that stamina, man, for like that length. Because the thing is you listen to them too, and they don't waste any time. They finish one song, 1, 2, 3, 4, and right into the next.
Relentless.
Just shoving it down your throat, and it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. It's such a, I don't know, for me, this live is just such an achievement.
Yeah, New Year's Eve, 1979 at the Rainbow in London.
Yeah. Oh my God, man. Yeah, I would say that this set is relentless.
It
is relentless, but in the best
side
way.
4, like the round up to side, like side 4 is like the round, like the end. It's like building up to the end of like the show. And for me, those group of songs, it just plays so intensely. It makes me so happy. Like I know like all the stuff Joey says in between the songs, like after eating that chicken vindaloo, I want to be well. You know, like I know all the stuff. You know, it's great to be here in England with the Ramones. This one's called Rockaway Bates. Like, you know, like that. It's like,
yeah, and that's what's great. I love I don't know. I love Joey Ramone's
of this
delivery.
Album is, hey, we're the Ramones, and this one's called Rockaway Bates.
Yeah.
That after Bliss Creek Bop is, it's great to be here in London. You know, it's like, but that's the first thing he says. Scream.
And I love how New York they are.
Yeah, they were unabashedly them.
Yeah, man, that's what's.
Dee Dee, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, just counting it off. Just.
It's so
man.
rock and roll. It's
It
like,
is.
You know what I mean? I just, It's Alive is it's just such a great live record. It's I mean, I think it's overdubbed too in studio touch. I don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
It's like the Ramones say, I don't care. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, highly
so
recommended,
good.
guys.
Yeah.
Like, if you're listening to this, you know, and hearing us BS about the Ramones, and I mean, obviously, you could tell, like, this is probably my favorite band of all time. It's like, for me, it's like Beach Boys, Beatles, Ramones are all like tied. Like, that's,
no, I would agree with
and
that.
And if I'm making a list of like best bands of all time, I'm putting the Ramones too, because they were just so like influential, and like they meant so much to so many people. I think like the Beatles do. Like, because I'm not the only one talking about the Ramones like this. Other people feel that passion of,
absolutely,
and the high artness of it at the same time.
And it's what's crazy about them is that their influence. You know, because, all right, a little backstory on Luke and I, you know, okay, yes, I was like really into metal, but we had a bit of a scene, kind of a local scene, especially in Connecticut. And there was a resurgence of punk music, and a couple of our buddies were in a band called Frank Is My Co-Pilot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and, just like.
And even that, like, I watched that band influenced me so highly to like want to play music by myself. Like, I would watch that band and be like, I like the Ramones, and they're a punk band. This is exciting. Listen, I know these people.
I remember watching their guitar player, Will. Great guy.
The best.
Great. I love Will. He's such a good dude.
And he was so nice to us too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, just such a warm-hearted, just, you know what I mean? Like, such a sweet man. But you know, and so I'm here. I am. I'm kind of like this frustrated guitar player because I want to learn how to play like stupid fast because I'm listening to the harder, heavier stuff. And I remember just being kind of envious of him, watching him play guitar
with 2 fingers.
Yeah, because like, okay, so normally
he could hold a power chord with 2 fingers.
Yeah, normally when you hold a power chord, right, it's with the index finger and the ring finger. But he did it with his index finger and his middle finger. And I remember looking at him like, what is this? What is he doing? Like, but at the same time, so kind of like, so envious in the way that it's like, it was music.
Good.
Yeah, and it was
sounded
so good.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great. Like, everyone dug it. We were all really into it. You know, this kid Matt, he played drums for them. Just same thing, crazy. And then Jason.
Yeah, had like a giant mohawk and played like a nice thumpy bass, you know, like a plunky.
And he always did
bass.
And he had a crazy mohawk for a little while, and he wore like the studded, you know, denim like cut off vest with the patches and the studs all over it. And I was like,
for me especially, like, you know, these people were Mike's age. I was young. I'm younger than Mike by like 4 years.
Yeah,
and. You know, so these people were older than me. These are my sister's friends that were in this band. And they liked the Ramones. I discovered the Ramones. I liked the Ramones.
Yeah.
And then I saw they were a little older. They were doing it. And that for me was like, I mean, I started every musical thing I've done. And like, I mean, not that I've done, a ton like recently, but when I was in high school,
Yeah.
I was definitely in a band that played all the time.
Yeah.
And that was the direct reason why. It was like, it was this link. It was like it was literally almost like the Ramones gave everybody a gift of like, the gift was you could do this too. And I got that from them too. And that was like a special thing,
Yeah. So after that.
After that, okay, so
Road to
Tommy leaves this band.
Yeah, but he sticks around though, I think, to help with like production.
So like he wants to, but it never really works out that
No.
way. Like he kind of just gets like booted out because if you're not in the van, how are you really in the band? You know what I mean? These people are brothers. So you get he leaves the band, and it's really like what the dynamic what we were describing earlier, like the sandwich dynamic. Like he was the only one that could make a sandwich for himself. That led him really to leave this band because it was like he couldn't stand to like wait for these people to kind of develop, into less manic people.
Yeah.
Because being in the Ramones was tough, man. Like I said, like Dee Dee was an addict, like Joey was OCD, and Johnny was a militant all the time. He had the key. He was the one, handing out the punishment, if you want to take it like that. And so like 3 hard personalities, and this dude's just like, I don't need this. I can live a life. I can see myself living a life outside of here. And so I think that's why he left. So you get drummer Marky Ramone in. Marky comes in. Marky was in Richard Hell and the Voidoids.
Yep.
As the drummer, and before that he played with Wayne County and the Backstreet Boys. And I'm so sorry, I do not Jane County and the Backstreet Boys, because she was like one of the first I would say like maybe like drag queen performers in New York.
Okay.
And she fronted a punk band, and he was the drummer for that initially. And then if we were going way back, Marky Ramone used to be in Dust, a power trio.
Yeah.
Everybody check out our power trio episode. I don't know if we covered Dust, but
we didn't cover
Dust. Are
We
an
should have,
awesome
though.
power trio, and Marky Ramone's pretty. So you hear like the Ramones drumming is pretty standard of what it is. It kind of doesn't really switch up from song to song. It's kind of like it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is a talent though, because I dare any drummer to play that fast for that amount of time. You can't. You need to practice it. It's very hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool though because you kind of think like punk drummer, whatever. But he also could play metal chops in Dust. He was, and then he found punk because I think he found it more artistically satisfying.
Okay.
So anyway, he enters the Ramones from being in Richard Hell and the Voidoids, and he is the Ramones' longest drummer. He comes in and out at some point, but he's the Ramones' longest drummer, and so a lot of people would hold Marky as a core, like almost founding member of the Ramones, even though he's not. But like because he was with the band the longest, so the first album featuring him was Road to Ruin. Yeah, Road to Ruin, which has classic songs. I Want to Be Sedated. I find that this is when the Ramones start to come off the rails on their studio albums.
Yeah.
Because they were just trying to bring in producers. Everybody was trying to make this band a hit instead of trying to just forge it out and have the fans they had and kind of go slow and let more arty producers produce. It's like the Stooges' first album is like John Cale production, right? And that's how. In the second album, I don't know who produced that, Funhouse, but they realized that they just needed to play live in the studio, and that's how you're going to get that sound, right?
Yeah.
So that method, I feel like at this time, this is like the turn of the 80s, and now record companies are big business at this point. This wasn't the 60s. The 60s was like the naive growing period where you got a lot of artists who could make a bad and then a good record again. But by this point, you needed a hit and you needed sales and blah blah blah. Sales hit, sales hit. That's all it was, and that's where we get this garbage music industry that we have today.
Yep.
Through about probably the turn in the mid 70s.
Corporate greed, man.
Corporate greed. Yeah, let's talk about it. It's corporate greed. It's
absolutely. It's a business, man.
Yeah, they would get these producers in that didn't know crap about the Ramones, and then they would overproduce the records, and not that Road to Ruin's a crazy overproduced record, but it's just not. You know what I mean? Someone should be going in there and talking the high art concept that me and you are with them, because they get that. That's where they're coming from. But they're like, where's the hit? So I mean, Road to Ruin. It's a good album. I've obviously listened to it many times all the way through. But
I was underwhelmed.
Yeah. When you listen to Rocket to Russia and then that's the follow up, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But it does have their most, maybe the second most or most recognizable song is probably Blitzkrieg Bop. Hey ho, let's go, everyone.
Yeah.
But
and I get it. Like you listen to it and you get it, right? I get it. But I'm like,
it has "I Want to Be Sedated," which everybody really knows.
Yeah.
Because I hear that if I hear a Ramones song on the radio, that's the only one I hear.
I'm a debut album guy, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
first four. You have Ramones, Leave Home, Rocket to Russia, It's Alive. Like that's the core classics.
And what's so funny is that there seems to be that kind of a common sort of thing with like all the greatest bands. What are the best Black Sabbath albums? Oh, the first albums,
first four.
What are the best Led Zeppelin albums?
First four. I actually heard Killer Mike make that statement the other day.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and he threw. I think he threw like I'm sorry, I forgot the rappers he threw in because I was surprised that he was like Led Zeppelin first four albums. He's like anything else trash. He's like I want to make those first four.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, and and obviously. These bands go on and things kind of get a little wonky and stuff. You see that with Zeppelin. You see that with Sabbath. And I feel like you kind of do see that with the Ramones because when they brought Phil Spector into
let's just really like kind of hit this hard for a minute.
Okay.
I'm so I don't like End of the Century, but I'm glad that Phil Spector somehow produced the Ramones. It's like one of the most. It's the craziest thing of all time. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense that it makes no sense because you listen to the Ramones and I'm sure Phil Spector saw it. He went, "This is my music for the times. These guys are playing rock and roll." But Phil Spector, everybody by this point was pretty off his rocker. He's in jail now, I think.
Yeah. Did he kill his wife? He killed her, right?
Yeah. He shot her.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was attempted murder or if it was murder.
Oh my god, I don't know. I hope it was attempted. I hope we didn't kill her, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he did kill her.
Yeah, Phil Spector was a pretty garbagey guy, everybody.
But if you want to see a really funny interview with him, watch the George Harrison documentary, and you can just see
layers and layers of harmonies.
Oh my god, perfectionist isn't the word. George Harrison was beyond a perfectionist, and he's sitting there, and you hear him just like blah 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 blah.
With his crazy wigs.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Stupid
he's wearing
wigs.
he's wearing like this weird like blonde highlighted bowl cut wig, and you're like, who is this alien of a man?
Right. Okay. So
if
we're talking Phil Spector production, let's just talk like songs straight up. Songs I think they work on, and me and Mike disagreed on this the other day because he listened to it and he went, "Man, I kind of like this record." I was like, "This garbage. This record's garbage."
Yeah,
bro.
I don't know. Maybe this is a guilty pleasure record for me.
I think it works on Rock and Roll Radio. I think the production on that is great. I think it works on Danny Says. I think that's a new tone for the band, and I think it really worked.
Yeah,
I think
Danny Says is a standout track.
Oh yeah, it's a higher class. I don't know if it's a higher class. I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, but it's definitely a better produced kind of same. But it's not even like I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. It's just that it's more of a slower song. It's about their manager Danny Fields. It's actually like a tribute to him.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet. They let him go after this record though.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Danny.
I mean, he did put them through Phil Spector.
Lord.
Yeah, so I think it works on Danny Says. I like the production on Do You Remember Rock and Roll Radio? And I like it on Rock and Roll High School. That's it, guys.
Yeah. See, the only song that Luke and I disagree on
is Chinese Rock.
See, I like Chinese Rock.
Mike, have you listened to the Johnny Thunders version of Chinese Rock?
I haven't.
Okay, so Dee Ramone would hang out with Johnny Thunders because that's how he would cop heroin. Back in the day, that was his junkie buddy, was Johnny Thunders. So he would go see Johnny Thunders. He's like, "Hey, man, you know that song Heroin by the Velvet Underground?" And they were like, "Yeah, that's a great song. It's like the greatest song about doing drugs."
Yeah.
And Dee Dee was like, "Man, well, I wrote half a song that's going to be the greatest song about doing drugs. It's called Chinese Rock, which is slang for heroin." He ended up like kind of finishing it, but this is Dee Dee's song. Dee Dee wrote like 99% of the song, and he helped Johnny Thunders help fill in some of the whatever. So. Or is it Johnny Thunder? Or I'm sorry, it's not Johnny Thunder, everybody. Everything I just said replaced with Richard Hell. It was Richard Hell.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. But anyway, it's one of those guys. I'm 100% sure it's one of them.
Oh my God, he bleeds, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I have faults everywhere. I can't remember everything. But
No, I'm just.
so they finish the song, and I think they end up They definitely kick out Richard Hell anyway out of the Heartbreakers. But the Heartbreakers end up recording Chinese Rock first because the Ramones wouldn't do it because Johnny was like, I ain't singing songs about drugs. Like, you're a druggie. I ain't singing songs about it. So Thunders put it out, and it's awesome. Johnny Thunders put it out. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, you mean Heartbreakers?
Oh, yeah.
You said Johnny Thunder.
Yeah, Johnny Thunder and the Heartbreakers.
Oh, okay.
Same band.
I'm
Same
sorry.
band.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, they put it out and it's really, really good. And then I hear this one and it is trash. I will play it for you after. You're gonna be like, okay, I get it.
I'll have to A/B it then. Yeah.
You'll but then like live, guys, when the Ramones would play Chinese Rocks live, it's a great song and they played it a lot. It was in the set list pretty frequently.
But I will say, yeah, I mean, from what I had seen, the consensus even in the band was just that, like, yeah, you know, the Phil Spector thing worked for the slower songs, the kind of, you know, but everything else they weren't really totally happy with.
But to be honest with everybody, I'm glad it exists because I'm glad I live in the world where Phil Spector, who is a horrible person, but one of the best producers of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I live in a world where he saw the Ramones as one of the best bands of all time.
Yeah.
For a hot minute. You feel me?
Yeah. No, I feel you.
They deserve it. And they deserve to have a better album. But, you know, you get what you get.
Yeah. And it's you know.
And so after that, Phil Spector is the last great hope for this band. And then after that, everybody's like, this is the best band. Someone's got to do something for this band. And then nobody does anything for this band.
Yeah.
Anything that's worthwhile. The only thing that the Ramones ever got, they did for themselves. Mm-hmm. And that's like the sad truth of it, is that the music industry for the rest of the 80s kicked the crap out of this band.
Yeah.
And then you get the kind of the rise of punk in the 90s. And the Ramones are still a band, everybody. And every band in the 90s punk movement, from Nirvana to The Offspring to Green Day to NoFX to Rancid, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, they were all screaming Ramones, 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 Ramones. It's the Ramones, the Ramones, the Ramones, the Ramones. And still this industry did nothing for this band. But towards the end of their career in the late 90s, the late 80s, I think actually maybe from the mid 80s, I think like later though, the Ramones discovered that they had a giant fan base in South America. And when I say giant, I mean on Beatles level fame, and that is not an exaggeration. They were loved in South America, and to this day, they still are. I found this fact out because when I first started looking up Ramones songs on YouTube, when I was like in high school, when YouTube was first invented, most of the comments on the Ramones, and I think to this day, are in Spanish.
No shit, huh?
Yes. So it's all these like, you know, Brazil are not in Spanish, but like.
Oh well, Brazil is Portuguese.
Yeah.
And then everything else is Spanish.
Is it? Yeah. Okay, I just don't want to be
different dialects. You know, different dialects and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's in like, it's all in different languages, and they're all like South American, and that is amazing. If you look up footage from the Ramones, they would play sold out soccer stadiums. I'm talking like 30,000 people.
I'll tell you this, man. South American fans are no joke.
Well, there's also a great documentary, I guess. It's just like it's raw footage that's clipped together called Ramones Raw, and it has some of the raw footage of them in the van trying to leave their hotel, and it's like the Beatles or Michael Jackson. They're slamming on the car door, and they're in a van because they don't have money, guys. Right. But they're going to go sell out the soccer stadium.
Right.
But when they come home, they can't sell out like a 3,000-seater, some towns. And that was the legacy of this band. It was just like nobody liked them or nobody wanted them. They were always the outcasts, and everybody that grew off of them big and hard and giant.
It's kind of like
but like people tried to give them a chance though. They played like Lollapalooza on their last tour. Mm-hmm. You know, people were trying. Really, Rob Zombie was always championing the band. Yeah, there were that Chili. You know, all these bands were always championing them. Soundgarden, they were always being. Eddie Vedder was a great friend of the band. Lemmy, like we were saying earlier, everybody was trying to make this band. You know, more accessible.
You know what's funny is when I listened to the episode of Fight for Your Friends podcast that Luke had featured on, our boy George. Shout out to George.
You just said George's band. It's called Feel Feelings.
Oh, Feel Feelings. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, George.
Oh, well, shout out to George's
and that's his
George's
band.
music project.
Yeah,
Fight for Your
absolutely.
Friends. Check that out. But also check out his podcast, Feel Feelings, which
Feel Feelings,
I was featured on last week.
Yeah. But there was something that you had said on that where you're talking about how like the Black Keys were used on like some car commercials, and then now more car commercials are playing songs that aren't the Black Keys but kind of sound like the Black Keys.
Yeah, remember those like Levi Jeans commercials with the Ramones in it? Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, where like the Ramones kind of fell victim to that too, I think. Where in other words, like the music industry took what they liked from the Ramones and then kind of just like threw them away. They were like, oh hey, thanks for Blitzkrieg Bop and I
want to be sedated.
I want to be sedated. Oh hey ho, let's go. That's a fun line. You know. Oh thanks. Oh yeah. By the way, fuck off, guys.
Yeah, like,
you know
get out of here.
Yeah, like thanks for the music. Now you can go like
Okay, so yeah, like that was the statement. I feel like tide changed when I don't know when the tide changed. I want to say it was probably the internet era. I feel like all these Ramones fans in the internet era, and maybe like around the late, I feel like attitudes really changed, and I feel like people really started to clamp down and really say that the Ramones were worthy, and that they were important, and that they did stand for everything that rock and roll stands for, and that they were on par with like the Beatles.
I'm telling you, man,
they were so You think of all the bands that are inspired by the Ramones. Now, this is the rock music we're hearing today. It was so heavy that those first 4 records blew people's minds. And
the fact that their sound, although was new and fresh and raw, was pop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they had that ability to write a catchy song, right? Because I mean, isn't that what pop music is? Pop music is popular music, and it's popular because it's catchy, because you can hum it. You know, you can get a line stuck in your head or something like that. It has that quality to it.
You know what's great about the Ramones at this point too? Because like it's got a good bad thing where like they take what they want. The good thing is the Ramones almost have like a smoke on the water effect. Where so many people were influenced to pick up an instrument because they knew that song was easy and maybe they could play it and maybe they heard that song before.
Yep.
The Ramones to me is good in that aspect because everybody knows, hey ho, let's go. And then if you dig a little deeper, there might be a lot there for you that you never knew.
Yeah.
And that I think, you hear it in a commercial and you go, whatever. Or you see someone famous wearing a Ramones logo shirt. Yeah. And they're like, that's the whole, the thing.
Yeah.
Also, Ramones logo, everybody should go. I don't know if we're gonna have time to really touch on them today, but Arturo Vega was the Ramones art director. And this image that the Ramones have too, he was an art guy. He made the presidential seal logo.
We touched on him when we were talking about Black Flag.
Yeah, we definitely did because Raymond Pettibone is to Black Flag what Arturo Vega was to the Ramones.
Right.
And this man too, Arturo Vega, he housed the Ramones. He let them stay at their house. He was the one that gave them a place to be and made them what they were. So very important. I definitely go look him up. And he took some of the most striking photos of the band as well. I believe he was influenced to make the presidential seal after photographing them in D.C.
Okay.
And the Ramones are about as American as apple pie. So that's why you get that seal.
Yeah. So we covered kind of, I guess we would say the classic lineup and then into kind of like the Phil Spector era. We're kind of running short on time. So one thing I just wanted two things, right? First off, as I was listening to Brain Drain, I thought this is kind of metally. So maybe to our listeners that like metal but don't really know how to maybe say approach the Ramones. Not that I don't think,
and it's covers too, so more accessible there.
Right. But I thought, this is a cool. And granted, I mean, okay, it comes later. It's 89 is when it comes out. But it's just for me, I listen to it and I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I definitely would have probably gone down like the Ramones rabbit hole during that time in my life when I was into metal had I listened to Brain Drain. Maybe not necessarily, but yeah, I don't know. For me, it was just like harder hitting. It's
I was
heavy.
thinking Acid Eaters. I'm so sorry. Brain Drain is the heavier one. Yeah, that's got,
and Brain Drain has Pet Sematary.
Yeah, Pet Sematary on it. Does that have highest rails above?
No, it has. I Believe in Miracles.
Oh yeah, that's the one I was thinking
Zero
of.
UFO.
Yeah.
Great tune.
I Believe in Miracles is.
Bust My Chops. Punishment Fits the Crime. All screwed up.
Yeah, like guys, I Believe in Miracles. If you like Pearl Jam too, they do a great cover of it.
Oh, what was it? Palisades Park.
Yeah, that's a cover,
dude. Yeah, man, come
Last
on.
night I took a walk in the dark. Yeah, I don't know who sings that original, but that's a throwback cover too. You know, something Ramones would do all the time.
So I just wanted to throw that out as an honorable mention album for I'll say later Ramones catalog. That I'd say that's my maybe listen suggestion coming from a metal perspective.
This is my I think the last great classic if start to finish. I feel like it's a great statement. The Ramones Too Tough to Die. That's my shout out record here. Is after the first four, you get up to Phil Spector. This is the comeback album. Right here, is Too Tough to Die is one of my favorite records.
And that's with
the third drummer, Richie.
I was gonna say
who brings in an awesome energy into this band. Mama's Boy, Mama's Boy. Every song hits like a classic Ramones song, and that's why I really like it. Also, you get the awesome instrumental Durango 95, down, which they would start every show with after, I think, to the end of their career. I believe they started every show at Durango 95. Warthog, one of the most punkiest, thrashiest song the Ramones ever did. Sung by Dee Dee sings it. It's so good. It's so good.
Dee Dee, when he sings, sometimes I have a hard time.
Warthog is my jam. You can't understand anything he says. It's amazing. But the words are about doing drugs. So there you go.
Surprise.
But yeah, I love Durango 95 and the Warthog is amazing. Danger Zone, Chasing the Night, Howlin' at the Moon is a great pop song. Everybody, that's my shout out record is Too Tough to Die. It's the Ramones comeback album. It is great and rocks just like the first four.
Right on. The only other thing I wanted to just make sure I would be remiss if I didn't mention Dee Dee's prolific hip hop career.
Oh yeah, Dee Dee
King.
Dee Dee King, Dee Dee in the late 80s quit the Ramones and made a rap album, but the rap album is pretty punky. A fun part about it is the Ramones cannibalized some of the songs on it and used it on later albums. So that's a what's The Crusher is on I think their last album. And that song's I'm the Crusher, King of the Ring. It's a song about I think wrestling or boxing or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, they actually ended because you listen to it and you're like, what?
Yeah.
You'll listen to it and you'll be like, what is this? This is crazy.
What is going on right now?
But at the same time, like we were talking about earlier, is that the Ramones, I think, had that hip hop different outsider, outcast, New York,
right?
And I think he just thought he could go for it because maybe it kind of felt like that too.
Yeah, because I think
it does not play out very well. Though.
No, I wasn't really into
Funky
it.
Man.
What's even worse? I'm not gonna go into what he said, but I saw an interview where he started talking about it, and then he started talking about the black communities that were also putting the music out, and he made a couple of comments, and I was like,
yeah, it's a little cringy.
It's a little cringy. I was like, bro, stop talking.
Oh, that's the thing about Dee Dee is in the songs so articulate and beautiful and childlike, but then on another level, so just in your face, crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so
I think that about wraps it up. We talked about the Ramones for a long time.
We did. I think we're running a little bit longer as this episode, but that's okay. We enjoy doing it. So
yeah, we'll give you stuff we listen to on our Instagram. So check it out.
Yeah, check out our Instagrams. I hope you enjoyed this. We have some kind of fun things planned out in the works for different episode ideas that we'd like to do. And you'll be hearing more about that as time goes on. But
yeah,
we thank you for listening. I've been Mike.
I've been Luke. I just want to say, hey ho, let's go, and gabba gabba hey.
Gabba gabba hey. See you next time, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.